Meeting of the Collegedale Commission. I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. As we begin our meeting, I've asked Commissioner Baker to lead us in the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Let us bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for us being able to get together. Help us, Lord, and make wise decisions. Help us and everyone out here, Father. I pray, God, that you watch over and bless them. In Christ's name, thank you. Amen. Would you stand, please, for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And if we could have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker?
Here.
Commissioner Lamb?
Here.
Commissioner Sadler?
Here.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Mayor Lloyd?
Here. And next on the agenda, we have the review of our February 6th Collegedale Commission meeting minutes. And I'm assuming everyone's had a chance to take a look at the minutes. Any changes or suggestions that anyone has? Okay, if none are so noted, I will ask that we have a roll call, please, for approval. Oh, I'm sorry, we need to approve them.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker?
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb?
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler?
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson?
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd?
Yay. Next, we have our comments from citizens, and we're very pleased to have Congressman Fleischman here with us this evening. Congressman, would you like to step forward and address the commission and everyone here this evening?
Thank you, Your Honor. It's a tremendous privilege and pleasure to be before the Collegedale Commission. I've known many of you all for years. I know your distinguished county attorney, Sam Elliott. Usually I see him in Saudi Daisy, but I understand he represents about 5 or 6 municipalities. So Sam, it's a pleasure to see you. And Your Honor, just a privilege to be here tonight. As you know, I represent the citizens of the 3rd District of Tennessee. That's about 780,000 constituents now in 10 counties from the Georgia border all the way to the Kentucky border. So it's a large district, but I've always maintained, Your Honor, that a representative or a lawyer, as I was, is only as good as the clients or constituents they represent. And the privilege of representing the city of Collegedale has really been outstanding. I love this community. In an earlier life, I actually practiced law before the courts here with the Honorable Kevin Wilson, before him many times. But Collegedale means a lot of things. It means Southern Adventist University. Both of my cousins went here. Interesting story, as most of you knew, I grew up in New York, Philadelphia, and Chicago before ending in Knoxville at the ripe old age of 20. And I received a call one day from my cousins, and they said, we're in a place called Collegedale, Tennessee, going to a place called Southern College. And I said, why? And little did I know someday I would be here representing this wonderful area. I would be remiss if I did not talk about McKee Foods. Many nights in Washington, D.C., my dinner consists of Little Debbie cakes, and I'm glad to get them. But the impact of McKee Foods on this wonderful community and Southern Adventist University are outstanding. This is truly a great community. Tonight, I do want to talk about one policy issue with you. My very dear friend, Franklin Farrow, is with us tonight, as well as my staffer, Gracie. She's in the back. Collegedale, for the years, as we know, has had a very nice airport. Not all communities are fortunate enough to have an airport. I was just out there recently, a few moments ago before this meeting, to actually see the airport. It's a beautiful facility and has a wonderful history, but it has come to my attention that there is a desire in the community to work towards making it an even greater asset for this community. And we're talking about the potential for growth. As you know, the Chattanooga Municipal Airport is a wonderful airport, but it is growing. And So it's a beautiful airport. It may need some help. So, Your Honor, I just want to let you know that to the extent that I can help at the federal level, whether that is with grants, whether that's with earmarks, whether that's any support that I can give, we will certainly be ready, willing, and able to help. And with that, I just want to say thank you to you all for serving, stepping up and serving. That is not easy. You put yourself out there, you run for office, and then you serve, and then you get the phone calls and the letters and the meetings. So thank you for what you do for this great community. And I would ask that if any of you all have any questions of me, please feel free to ask now. Be more than glad to address anything that you wish, budgetary or otherwise, at the federal level.
I'm sure you're aware Franklin probably has informed you about our airport advisory board. And I think that's been a very successful getting this up and running. And we definitely appreciate what you can do and help us and point us in the right direction for some of the grants and earmarks.
Thank you, sir.
Congressman, I think you hit the nail on the head. We very much need help. We need federal help. We have an airport here, as you stated. It's a wonderful community asset, but it's an airport that's in dire need of federal funding. We need to solve a lot of problems, a lot of safety issues. And we really appreciate your being with us tonight. We appreciate your willingness to help us out, because this is our economic engine. The airport is that. This economic engine has been stalled out for a long time. Chattanooga's airport has almost a $1 billion economic impact. Ours, 3.3 million. So we know we've got a lot of improving to do to get it to a level where this airport can become that economic engine that it needs to be. And it can become profitable, because for years it's just struggled to get by, just struggling to pay the bills and getting further and further behind on a number of safety issues. So thank you. Thank you for your willingness to help us out.
Well, Your Honor, thank you. I look forward to working with you all. And an open invitation. You've been kind enough to allow me in your home here today in Collegedale, my office in the Rayburn office building, right above the Appropriations Committee, is open, and always welcome to come by. And probably in a few weeks, we'll have a new crop of Little Debbies and be ready to go. So thank
Sounds
you
great.
all.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Okay, are there any other citizen comments? Anyone? Yes, sir. If you would, please step up to the microphone. If you would give us your name and your address, please.
Thank you. I am Kennardo Curry of 4348 Wellesley Drive, right up the road. And greetings, Mayor Lloyd, and to the other commissioners, and to all of the citizens here. I do have a small delegation. We are represented by our secretary of our homeowners board, Stephen Beckham, and the rest of our neighbors here. If you could stand and let everybody know that you're here this evening.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
We were invited by our Commissioner Sadler, who came to visit with our annual meeting. We have a couple of issues arising in our neighborhood. We feel that our safety is compromised by the speeders that come through our neighborhood. There is a major thoroughfare, Wellesley Drive, that enters off of Bill Reed Road and runs throughout the neighborhood and circles through a new development, Phase 4. The residents who are coming from the rear and other parts of the neighborhood sometimes feel like it's Indy 500 in the mornings and evenings. I don't think they plan their days as well as some of the others of us do. So they may be a little late or tardy trying to get to wherever they're going. And we've observed some speeds in excess of 40 to 50 miles an hour going through our neighborhood. So we're asking for help. We're asking that. We know that the Collegedale Police Department have routinely come through the neighborhood and they do checks during the day, but that's not when the speeders are there in the noon and midday. It's early mornings and in the afternoons during the drive time. So we're asking that you give us a little help there. We're fearful of our little fur babies and our actual babies who play in the neighborhoods. You know, a ball runs out into the street. No one has time to stop if they're going in excess of 40 miles an hour.
Right.
So we're asking you to help us with that. That's number one. And then number two, I'm not sure who is the commissioner for Public Works, but we have a small pond. It's a retention pond along with some waters of the state. And the last hurricane created some damages in the pond, and we've got some water issues. So if I could be directed to the appropriate person, I'd love to set up a meeting with them to talk about how we sort of direct some help toward that area. It's looking pretty raggedy for our neighborhood.
Is that still the state, the retention pond, or is
The
that?
retention pond is owned and maintained by the HOA.
Okay,
But you can set up a meeting with Chris Micklin, our staff engineer. There's been an email chain back and forth with him on this subject.
great. Tell me his name again.
Ordinarily, the city can't expend money on private property.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if this was a new part of Wellesley or.
No, it's an ongoing problem where I think the person who's the representative has come out and the response wasn't favorable to the residents in terms of resolution. So,
Right. The problem has to be addressed by the HOA. The city can only work on the structures underneath the roadway and within the right of way.
okay.
But the maintenance of the pond and the outlet structure, et cetera, is responsibility of the HOA.
Well, I'd love to meet with them so I can get caught up to speed so
Okay.
that my administration is not fraught with all sorts of questions and,
So can we,
Sure.
can we write down the name for him and
Mhm.
email address?
yes,
If you'll just write your email address down for me, I'll send an email tomorrow.
sure will.
Put everybody in
I'll
contact.
bring you a card.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to ask our chief of police. I know you have been out there with your staff as well, trying to handle some of the speeders coming through. Any suggestions from your perspective at the moment?
Well, we'll be glad to do some more targeted enforcement in the morning and afternoon hours. We can put our speed trailer out there to help slow some folks down and gather some speed data on some routine speeds in the neighborhood. But getting that addressed shouldn't be a problem. It's a complaint that comes up periodically throughout the years. And usually as long as we get out there and do, some targeted enforcement at certain times of day when it's more problematic, then, it'll slow some folks down. And then if it becomes a problem again, we'll just target it again. But we'll do a good job of keeping an eye on it. And here in the near future, you can expect, more presence to see us out there more often.
Thank you.
Won't be a problem at all. Glad.
And I'll alert my
Thanks, Chief.
daughters so they're not the ones caught speeding.
Well, I
And they don't have a Mustang or a Camaro, do they? Okay.
And I want
Volkswagens.
I want to concur with what you're saying because I had that same conversation with Chief Sapp about McDonald Road where we live. And it's the exact same time frame. It's when people are going to work and when they are coming home from work that McDonald Road becomes a racetrack.
Mhm.
And but Chief Sapp has been on it. I've asked the police department to help us out on McDonald Road. So I totally understand. When you're a little fearful of going to your mailbox,
Right.
you're afraid of getting run over. It gets a little frustrating. So thank you for bringing it up. And I can assure you that it will fall upon ears that will take action. And,
Thank you.
and we've got a great police chief and he's on it.
Good.
Thank you.
I appreciate the time.
Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
guys.
Thanks. Any other citizen comments this evening? Yes, sir. You'd step up the mic, give us your name and your address, please.
Merritt McLafferty, 4681 Pearson Drive. Two things. I really appreciate our Public Works Department and all that they do for dealing with the things we put out at the curb at different times of the month. My concern is our traffic congestion, especially getting over the hill, and greatly concerned about our emergency vehicles getting through. Where do we pull over to let them by when we have no place to go on either side, going either way? I
You're talking
would,
about Hickman Hill here?
Yeah.
Hickman Hill on
Going-
Appleton Pike.
Appleton, yeah, to getting over the hill.
Okay, I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
with the, the construction going on, the barricades are there. No way to hit the ditch. Along that line, I would hope you would not okay any more development until we get this traffic flowing. very concerning.
Yeah,
And maybe you have a solution to that, but I haven't seen any likelihood for the barricades coming down and letting us use the extra lane in either direction.
Well, I know our fire marshal's here, and I won't ask him to speak, but on the spot unless he feels like he should. But I think that a lot of times the fire department realizes it, that you cannot pull over to the side in that area, and they try to slow down as much as they can. I'm speaking because I volunteer as well. And we just have to do the best we can. We know it's always critical to get to a fire or to a medical emergency, but in reality, we don't expect you to thread the needle for us, and it's impossible sometimes, but we understand that it's a challenge as well. And hopefully in 2 years, is that the latest?
I was going to say a year and a half.
Year and a half, the bridge will be finished. I don't know if you've seen it here. You know, I'm sure you drive it every day, probably, but they are putting more of the grids up and the girders for the bridge, so they're making progress.
Thank you.
And thank you for your patience through the construction process. We appreciate it. Any other citizen comments this evening? Okay, if there are no other citizen comments noted, we have no unfinished business, but let's approach our new business. We have first reading for ordinance 1114. Would you read the caption, please?
An ordinance of the City of Collegedale, Tennessee, further amending sections 5-1031 of the Collegedale Municipal Code, revising ordinance number 1111 to revise purchasing limits.
Last year, the legislature passed a law that allowed you to spend without going through the bidding process up to $25,000. And the board at that time approved an amendment in our ordinance to do that. One of my other cities asked me to take a look at it, and I took a more careful look at the statute and decided that the best thing to do to make sure that we don't overstep our bounds on that is to revise this to make sure that the statutory language is faithfully reproduced. And so more or less, that's what we've done here.
Okay.
So I was going to ask you a quick question under the section 1, and I think you probably just answered, but I'll make sure. When it says at least 3 written quotations are required when possible, we have to leave the when possible in there to match state law?
I believe so. I will double check that and see. I will tell you, I'm certain that is the case, but I'll double check it and let you know next time. But basically, that's pretty much the parameters that state law imposes on this. And we had the essential of it in there, but we didn't have it enough to be clear about it. And I just want to be clear about it. I don't want anybody to be confused by the extension of that power without understanding there are limits to it.
Any other questions?
I move to
Comments?
approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? And we have a second. Could I have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay. And next, we have first reading of ordinance 1115. Would you read the caption, please?
An ordinance of the City of Collegedale, Tennessee, to amend Title 12, Chapter 9 of the City of Collegedale Municipal Code regarding the fire code to adopt new policies pertaining thereto.
So when we adopted the 2018 fire code, we unintentionally omitted a couple of exceptions that had typically been in the ordinance previously and are typical of what the county and Chattanooga and the surrounding municipalities do. So this adoption would add those back in. There will need to be a slight revision under number 3 to be multifamily and for 100 units. And then number 4 is for single family and 200 units. And we'll catch that before the public hearing in the revised language.
And it's permissible to pass it with the understanding that we'll have these minor revisions for next time.
Sure. Okay.
Would any of these conditions listed as exceptions have mattered for the PUD approval that happened for the properties along Edgemond?
Not for the PUD. The PUD approval process is separate. However, the remoteness requirement that was a point of conversation would be addressed through the state language that we pulled out directly, the except as prohibited by exceptional narrowness, et cetera, is straight out of the TCA for variances. And so that would then allow the fire marshal to make that decision in that case as part of his recommendation.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
I move that we accept this with the changes under the first one being for multifamily and the second one being the single under number 4 with those changes.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
And we have a second. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Yay.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay. And next on the agenda, approval to purchase Glock handguns for the police department. Chief Sapp, come tell us.
Yeah, so this is just a request approval to purchase 45 new Glock handguns for our officers. We will surplus, if assuming it gets approved, we'll buy 45 new handguns. We'll surplus 35 of the old ones. We'll keep 10 for training purposes. They'll be transitioned into simunition weapons to use in force-on-force training and officer training. So we'd be purchasing 45 Glocks, and the quote for that is $21,525.75. And the money was accounted for in this year's budget.
So Chief, we ordered new Glocks. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. How long ago was that?
It's been at least 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah.
Okay. See, time flies when you're
Yeah.
getting my
The-
age.
All of our current weapons are Gen 4s, and they're like first edition Gen 4s. We're purchasing Gen 5s now. And when you account for, 10 years, give or take, of hundreds, if not thousands of rounds being put through, constantly breaking them down for cleaning and different things, you just start to get wear and tear. So this is kind of just in line with what we've been doing with replacing older technology, and this has just been part of that plan. And this is really kind of almost the last piece of the puzzle in getting that done. So
When I was looking at the employee directory, I think I counted 31 officers, including our reserves. Why are we going to order 45 guns?
well, if we're fully staffed, we have 26 full-time officers. If we're fully staffed in reserves, we have 15 of that. So that puts us at 41, assuming that reserve and patrol are both fully staffed. And then we have to keep extra weapons in the armory for if we have weapon malfunctions, or God forbid they had to be used, they would be taken in by evidence and we would have to replace those weapons.
And did you say you were going to keep 10 of the old ones?
Yes, we're going to keep 10 for training purposes and then surplus the rest of the current firearms.
Okay, and the other question I had was these Glock 34s, the ones that are, Glock says are specialty competition style weapons. Who are those going to?
Okay, so there's basically 3 different size models for this. So we're switching from 40 millimeter to 9 millimeter weapons. And the reason we're doing that is it's a little easier on shooters, especially smaller handed shooters or smaller statute shooters. The 9 millimeter Glocks all carry the same magazine. So different from the 40 caliber weapons, a 22, which is a full size, might be a little big for a smaller handed shooter, give or take. So basically what we did is we got all 3 weapons. We let all our officers go out to the range and shoot them and basically say, I shoot better with this one. This one feels more comfortable in my hand. This one's not bulky. So, basically we let them choose because we want them to be comfortable with what they're carrying to be the most proficient in their firearms training and their usage. So that's why you have the differences in the different models.
Is there a difference in the grip between the Glock 47 and the Glock 34?
Is there a difference in the grip size? Yes and no, but it's also more to do with the weight of the gun and the barrel length and just what feel, because you're dealing with a subcompact frame, a compact frame, a full size plane, and the bigger weapon has a longer slide, which is probably what you're talking about, the competition, or that's typically been carried by our sword operator guys. That's what they've carried for years. That's what I've carried for years. That's what I'm very used to shooting and comfortable, and I shoot much better with it than I would a smaller. But for our smaller officers, they may want the smaller handgun because it feels more comfortable and it's easier for them to shoot.
Okay.
I'm glad to see us move back from a 40 to a 9 mm.
Yeah, and that's been kind of the national trend. The government agencies, THP, which recently switched to 9 mm. I've been told that the sheriff's office is considering or is going to make that move eventually and switching to 9. The main part of that is, again, it's a little less caliber, it's a little less recoil, better for some shooters. But the main thing is, worst case scenario, if all of us are on the scene together and we need to share ammunition or share magazines, and it's all interoperable and everybody's carrying the same stuff.
Are you finding the 9 mm ammunition to be any less expensive than the 40?
It's going to be pretty comparable, really. I mean,
Okay.
the difference is too is the technology's caught up with what it needs to be with better powder resolutions and better. So you can just get as much as you can with a 9 than you used to could with a 40, basically.
On those Glock 34s, they're quite a bit more expensive. Were there 9 officers that preferred that model or some of those extras?
Those, I believe all 9 of those are for those, basically we went middle of the road for our extra weapons to be kept in the armory. But if they selected the Glock 34, then that's what we ordered.
Any other questions, comments?
I appreciate the chief bringing it to us.
Sure.
And do we have a motion for approval for the purchase
I'll
of these
make a
guns?
motion.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion for approval and we have a second. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Nay.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, Chief Sapp, thank you very much. We appreciate the great job that your department does.
Mayor, can to answer Commissioner Sadler's question, when possible is directly out of the statute.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we have our January finance report.
There's an item,
There's an amended agenda that was sent out at
airport underground
5.
storage tank.
Oh, okay. All right. I did not see that. Okay. Design approval for the airport underground storage tank removal. All right, this is really good news.
It is very good news. Sorry for the last minute notice there. I just received the document about 4:30 this afternoon, but
Oh, good.
so anyway, it is asking for approval for the engineered design of the airport underground storage tank. I got an email about a week ago stating that the state had begun a bring forward initiative to start rectifying underground storage tank issues at various airports around the state. Felt like it was crucial that we take advantage of this funding window that unexpectedly did come open. Part of the problem with this underground storage tank is that the EPA does require us to do tests that are on 3-year cycles. That 3-year cycle does restart this year. So it is costing us money to keep it there. Especially there's no use for it because we haven't used it in over 2 years. So attached with your packet is the design as well as the bidding fee summary. The total cost for what they are quoting is $44,905. It is, of course, part of the TDOT plan that we do as part of the 95.5 state local match. So our portion of that will be $2,245.25.
That's a bargain.
It is certainly a bargain.
And I can say, back a few years back, let's say 30 years ago, I was using the old tank, and it was one that you would lift a metal lid, you would drag a hose out, you'd fuel your airplane. But that tank has not been operable. That pump has not been operable in what, 9-10 years?
It's been many years, yeah, and
Quite
it
a
was
few years. The danger that we have with that old tank is, for those of us who fly out of the Collegedale Airport, we know it's there, and we know that you need to avoid it. But if we were to have a visitor, let's say a corporate jet come in, and they were to drop a nose wheel into that tank, the city of Collegedale would be facing a huge crisis. So I thank you for being so responsive to this, because this is a huge liability to the city of Collegedale. And I think we need to address this sooner rather than later. So I'm thrilled this has come along as quickly as it has. Has TDOT given any kind of time frame as to how quickly they're wanting to move on this?
They haven't provided any kind of timeline yet. Like I say, I just got the notice for this last week, first of last week. So they're kind of just starting to roll the ball on this. So we'll know more information, I would assume, here within the next few weeks.
Okay, very good news. Thank you. Any comments, questions?
Do you by any chance have that handout where you could email it to me?
It is emailed. I
is.
just
Is it?
pulled this off.
Okay, all right, thank
I
you.
pulled this off just before I came.
Did it come like?
There's
late
a,
evening?
there's an agenda, amended agenda
Okay,
that Christie sent us this today.
okay.
At 5.
I found
Yeah.
it, okay.
And just for some background, we got a quote just for a reference point, and without any permits, without any EPA consideration in mind, they were quoting us like 47,000 and change. So the fact that we have TDOT's backing and a funding window for this is very, very good.
Good. Thank you.
2,200 is a lot better than 47,000.
Absolutely. And of course, that's just for the design, so we'll have to do another for the construction phase, but all things considered, it's certainly a bargain, like you say.
So when will we know that to go ahead with this? Right away?
Yeah, as soon as we get approval, we can pull the trigger on it and get it going.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No, I'll move to approve.
And I'll second it.
And we have a motion for approval and a second. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And now our January finance report.
Good evening, Commissioners. We are 58% of the way through the year and have received 58% of projected revenues, so we're doing great there. We've spent 55% of our estimated expenditures. We're looking good as far as revenues go, and just an FYI, we received about $100,000 more in January and February property tax this year than we did last year. So that's good news as well. Our expenditures are right in line with where they need to be. As far as our bank balances go, a couple years ago, we pulled 2 bonds for the sewer fund totaling about $2.6 million. Those were for capital projects. I put the monies into the sewer fund investment account, and now I have moved the entire $2.6 million back into the checking account because all of those projects have been paid for at this time. So that's why you see the sewer fund investment account going down and the checking account going up. And we may in the future move some of that checking into another investment account or something like that, but just to let you know.
Okay.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second, and we have a roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson,
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay. And finally, request for reports from city administration and/or commissioners. City administration, anything that you all would like to share?
Workshop next week. Other than that, that's about it.
Okay. All right. And from our commissioners, any items that you all need to bring up or discuss?
Eric, when you come out of the barriers next to Little Debbie Thrift Store, Epsom Pike has really become really rough. I don't know if we can get T-Dot or if we can.
Wright Brothers was patching that in the morning.
Okay.
As well as I got confirmation that CDOT, Wright Brothers as the contractor, is going to be milling and paving the section Axon Pike from the barriers to the four-way stop. I've been on them for about 3 years to take care of that. They finally got figuring out who was gonna pay for it, whether it was maintenance or the state project and getting railroad permits. It's finally all come to fruition. They'll be paving it the weekend of March 4th.
I know I've been harassing you for the last 3 years about Tucker Road, it seems like. Any word? Are we still waiting to negotiate that?
Still waiting for the project.
See, Eric knew that you were going to
Uh,
drill into
he's
that. That's
always
why he
on-
lined up paving in the morning.
He's always on top of it, I'll tell you.
Good job. Thank you very much.
Wayne, I had a few people reach out about the flag in Veterans Park. That's not the city that replaces that, is it?
It is, and we do it in the spring after
Okay.
the storms are over. It's interesting. Some citizens prefer it to be slightly tattered. They feel like it's a better representation of the nation and what the flag represents. And others feel like it needs to be pristine. And so our approach is waiting till the storms are over and the leaves are back on the trees and the wind damage isn't so significant.
Yeah, I was noticing that this weekend. I had my grandson over at the park and I was thinking, boy, those flags really look pretty tattered. So thank you for bringing that up.
Especially with all the wind.
Yeah, we've had a lot of wind, a lot of rain. I noticed there was a lot of debris in the park, Veterans Park as well, that I know we're obviously waiting on the rains to finish before we clean that up. But I appreciate the great job that Public Works does. Any other matters of business?
It's pleasing to see so many of our citizens here tonight.
Yeah.
And to welcome back some faces we haven't seen for several months. It's good to see the McLaffertys back in our courtroom. We've missed you.
Okay, any other matters of business? And do we have a motion for adjournment?
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion for adjournment. Do we have a second? Second? And roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Lamb,
Yay.
Commissioner Sadler,
Yay.
Vice Mayor Johnson.
Yay.
Mayor Lloyd.
Yay. And we are officially adjourned. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Yes, you too.
Be out here Friday to prosecute that